Fall is one of those seasons that looks peaceful from the window until you step outside and realize the leaves have taken over your yard. If you've got a few trees, it's no big deal. You can knock that out in an afternoon. But if you've got a property like ours, about an acre and a half with well over 100 trees, then leaf season becomes a serious operation. And if you don't keep up with it, you'll end up with wet, matted leaves that smother your grass and block out the sunlight, which can lead to fungus, dead patches, and a bigger mess come springtime. Now, despite what you've seen before, in this video, I'll show you what's worked the best for us over the years, how to rake leaves efficiently, how to move them without breaking your back, and what to do with them when you're done. So stick around to the end and I'll show you how we cut our cleanup time in half with one simple trick. So let's get going. So first off is getting ready. It's timing and conditions. So let's start with timing. The best time to rake isn't when all the leaves are down. If you wait too long, you're dealing with layers of wet, heavy leaves that'll cling to the ground or piles of leaves that are overwhelming to deal with. So instead, try to work it in stages. Don't wait until all the leaves are falling off the trees before you decide to start raking. We normally do 4 or 5 easy rakings that are manageable and quick instead of one big raking. It's like mowing the grass. It's better to keep it a decent height and manageable instead of letting it become a jungle. So let's talk about preparing your grass before the leaves begin to start falling. Mow your grass short. Now, shorter grass makes a huge difference. The rake or the blower glides easier and the leaves don't get trapped in tall blades. I usually set my mower 1 or 2 settings lower than normal for the last fall cutting. And by this time of the year, the summer heat's gone, so you don't have to worry about scorching your grass. If the leaves have already started to fall, then before they pile up, you can usually mow over the first batch if there aren't too many and cut the grass lower. Now, dry weather is your friend. Wet leaves can be twice the weight of dry leaves and harder to rake or blow. So keep an eye on the weather. If you know rain's coming in a day or two, get out there before it hits. You'll thank yourself later. And pick a calm day. A light breeze is fine, but if you're chasing leaves across the yard and fighting the wind, then it's not worth it. If you're having windy conditions, try raking or blowing early in the morning or late in the afternoon when the winds aren't as strong. The second thing is choosing your tools, rakes, blowers, and whatever. Now, let's talk tools. If you've only got a small yard, then a basic sturdy built rake will do the job just fine. But if raking is too hard on you physically, then a smaller cordless blower will help out. If it's too heavy to carry, then consider using a shoulder belt or a strap to carry the weight of it. I don't like the real cheap ones because they don't have enough power and the batteries don't last long enough. It helps if you get one with 2 batteries and a quick charger. But if you've got a large property like ours, it's worth mixing tools to save energy. Now let's talk about rakes, the different types of rakes. And there are a few kinds of rakes that you'll see out there. First off, the metal rakes. They're strong, durable, and they're great for gravel and damp areas, but they're heavier on your shoulders. Now, the thing I don't like about metal rakes is that the tines or the tooth of the rake, they get bent out of shape like this one, and all of them don't touch the ground at the same time, so you don't get as good a coverage, or it doesn't take the leaves out like they should. Now, plastic rakes, they're lightweight and flexible, and they're usually what I reach for the first time. They're easier on your arms, but the cheap ones have a tendency to crack easy, and they don't last through many seasons. But both the metal and plastic rakes come in various sizes and build quality. The larger and heavier the rake, the more work it requires to move leaves. So the heavier, stronger ones, they may last longer than some, but like this one, they're a lot to handle and they wear you out quickly. The smaller ones work good for flower beds or around landscaping, but I try to get as much as I can with the blower before I reach for the small rake. So I recommend a wide plastic rake, one that's got good build quality. It's strong. They come in a curved design or a flat design. The flat design will move more leaves, but the curved design takes a little less effort. So we actually have both, and I like to interchange them when I'm raking. Now, how to use the rake. Now, don't laugh, but many people don't know how to use a rake properly, and they end up tired and sore. When you're raking, don't dig in like you're plowing the yard. If you're pulling up grass, you're pressing too hard. Just take the rake and skim the surface of the grass just enough to move the leaves. That top layer of leaves will move easily, and you'll save a ton of energy. The motion should come from your arms and your hips, not your lower back. So a steady side-by-side rhythm works the best. And what you're doing, you're lifting the leaves off the grass. You're not dragging them across the grass. So try it, and you'll see how easy it is to do and how much more effective it is in moving the leaves. And take breaks. Raking sounds simple until you've done it for an hour or two. And don't forget to drink plenty of water so you keep hydrated. Now the third thing, let's look at a small yard strategy. If you've got a smaller space, say under a half an acre, you can keep it simple. Just rake your leaves into a few manageable piles, then bag them up or put them in a compost pile to use for your plants. Many communities now require biodegradable paper bags, and some cities even pick them up at the curb with a big vacuum truck. Now that's convenient, but sometimes it's not free. Those bags can get expensive fast, especially if you have a lot of trees. Now if your city does curbside pickup, take advantage of it. Just remember, you still have to get all those leaves to the curb, and that can be half the job. And we'll go over the easiest and fastest way to do that in just a little bit. The next thing, let's look at larger yards and see what strategy we can work for that. Now for those with large areas, this is where things change. If you've got more than a half an acre, you'll probably burn yourself out trying to rake everything by hand. Here's how we handle it on our property. The first thing is we keep the grass short. If you don't do this, you're going to be surprised how much this helps. The second thing is use a blower to move the bulk of the leaves into rows or piles. And then third, follow up with a rake to tidy up the edges and to move them on the tarp. Now I use a backpack blower because it has enough power to move big piles without stopping every few minutes. And the one I have even has a special belt. Because of the weight of the backpack, it keeps the weight off your shoulders and more to your hips and your legs. Now if you're using a small cordless blower, that's fine. Just work in small sections at a time. And remember to use the wind to your advantage. Blow with the wind if there's any, and enjoy the extra help. It also helps on your yard if you rake in sections. Now don't try to clear the whole property in one go. Work one zone at a time. Maybe the front yard, then the backyard, then the sides, and finish each completely before moving on. That keeps the job from feeling endless. So you can see how it's easier making smaller piles instead of one huge big pile because you're not moving so many leaves so far at one time. So once you've got the smaller piles, you need to move them, and this is where most people waste the most effort. So forget dragging a trash can back and forth. The best tool for moving leaves is a tarp. Now we use a 10-foot by 12-foot vinyl tarp because we have a lot of leaves. And that's big enough to hold a good pile, but it's still small enough to drag easily. Now for a smaller yard, just use a smaller tarp, maybe a 5x7 or 8x10 size. Now I highly recommend a vinyl tarp. Canvas tarps tend to drag too much on the grass and they pick up moisture. So go with vinyl if you can. And I don't recommend the cheap plastic drop cloths. They rip and they catch on everything. Then soon you'll be frustrated and they have a bigger mess on your hands. And the vinyl ones aren't that expensive. I like the silver and brown or the black colored ones, and they're normally like a 10 mil thick. The blue thinner ones, they just don't last as long and they're only half the thickness. Plus the thicker tarps, you can use them for other things, like maybe covering firewood or putting under a tent if you go camping, or cover a trailer, etc. They last for years as long as you take care of them, fold them up, and store them at the end of the season. Now the trick to making it faster is rake your piles of leaves so you can pull the tarp between the piles. Then when you pull the tarp between, say, two different piles, you can rake the leaves from one side onto the tarp and then from the other side onto the tarp, and just move on to the next piles. Once it's about 2/3 full, then stop. If you try to cram more, you're just going to lose half of it on the way to where you're going to dump them. Now, here's a good tip I have for you. If you can handle a larger load of dry leaves, then fill them up on the tarp and use bungee cords with the tarp's grommet holes. You can crisscross 2 cords across the back corners to keep the leaves from spilling out. And if you're hauling a really full load, just add one across the middle. Then grab the 2 front corners and cross them over each other and twist the tarp so it makes like a handle. Then you can grab onto that handle, which is the tarp, and then drag it to your dump or your burn area. And then to unload, just set one end by your pile and lift up the far end and let gravity take care of the rest. This method alone cuts our hauling time in half and saves a ton of strain on your back. On our property, we have 3 designated burn areas, and that's what works best for us. We make sure the leaves are dry before burning, and we always do it safely. We never burn near buildings or trees or during windy conditions. So we keep a hose close by just for safety, and it's an area that has no overhead trees that can catch on fire. And we never leave a fire unattended. I use leather gloves and a steel rake if you need to move the leaves while they're burning. So burn a small pile and then add to it as it burns down. Don't let it get away from you by trying to burn a huge pile of leaves. We put ours in a pit that's below ground that we burn to make it safe. Now, if burning's not allowed where you live, here's some other good options. One is mulching. Use a mower with a mulching blade to chop the leaves into fine pieces. They'll break down over time and feed the soil. And if you don't want all those leaves on your grass, then use a bag on your mower to catch the clippings. Another good thing you can do is composting. Mix your leaves with some grass clippings for a great compost pile. And coming soon, I'll be making a video on how to make a compost pile with grass and leaves, and it'll be ready to use in 2 weeks. So make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you can be informed when I publish it. Now here's a few extra tips for a clean finish. A few small habits can make a big difference. If you're working with help, make one person the blower and another one the tarp hauler, and keep things moving steadily. And when you're using a tarp, if you've got another person helping, one can stand on one corner, pull it tight, and another one stand on the other side. That way leaves don't get underneath the tarp. And use a flipping motion to flip the leaves on top of the tarp. If you don't have a helper, you can always use a heavy rock or a piece of brick or something on one side to keep the tarp tight. That way it's easier to put the leaves on top of it. And once you get a system down, it becomes more like a fall ritual than a dreaded chore. Hey, if you've got your own tricks for managing leaves, drop a comment down at the bottom. I'd love to hear what works for you in your part of the country. If this video helped you out, hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. That simple click helps the channel grow and keep videos like this coming. I'll leave links to the products on the bottom right corner of this video, and what you can't find there, I'll have more links in the description for other products. You'll find tools, yard gear, and other homeowner essentials that I've tested myself or I highly recommend. It helps support the channel, and you can do your shopping online right from the comfort of your own home, and our products will be shipped right to your front door. And don't forget to check out my other DIY videos and product reviews. I'll put a link right up here in the corner so you can check those out. It might be exactly what you need for the project you're working on or getting ready to work on. And if you think this video or any other videos would help someone else, please share it with them. It really helps the channel and it helps others. So thanks for watching. You take care and God bless.